Hi guys, and welcome to another quick Lightroom edit. Today we're going to be working on this photograph of Seal Beach in California, one of my favorite places. As you can see, the image was underexposed. It was exposed for the sky to capture all the beautiful colors and highlights and definition going on in those clouds, but the foreground is very much underexposed. If I had it exposed for the foreground, we would have found that quite a lot of the sky would have been blown out, which we would have lost so much detail and color. So we can certainly change all this in Lightroom. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring up the exposure just to see the areas that we've got and that we're working on. So we can bring that right up, and we'll add a little bit of contrast as well. We're going to bring the shadows right up 100%, so we've got all the detail of the houses and the beach and the pier. And we'll also bring down some of the highlights at the moment, which should affect the sky. And we'll leave it at that. So we're going to go to the white slider. We're going to introduce some whites. So finger on the Alt key, drag the slider to the right, just so we've started to get a little bit of white coming through the mask. About there is perfect. We don't want too much because we don't want hot spots. And then the same with the black slider, and we'll bring the black slider down. So we've got a bit of black definition coming through, just to give it a bit of punch. That looks great like that. Now with clarity, I always tend to add a lot of clarity to my landscape images. Clarity is great for adding detail and bringing up all those midtones, and it really gives it a lot of clarity and definition. Bring it up to about 80, close to it. All looks good. Okay, we're going to move straight down. In fact, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take out this guy right up here, which we don't want. And we're going to select the spot removal tool. And we're just going to click on him. And just select an area as close as possible and hit done. And zoom back out. Okay. Now what we want to do is we've got a bit of lens vignetting going on. So we want to get rid of that, and we also want to straighten up the horizon. So we're going to go into our lens corrections panel, and we'll select enable profile corrections and remove chromatic aberration. And we'll also select auto just to straighten the image up. That looks good. We're going to leave the vignette at the moment. I'm not even sure if we'll add a vignette to this yet. And we'll go down to camera calibration. And it's always very useful to bump up the saturation in your blues. Now that doesn't mean to say that it cools down the image. It can actually make it warmer. It tends to affect the overall saturation of the image. And the blues work really well. So we can bring it right up. Bring it up to about there. Now we're going to go back to the exposure because it's a little bit on the overexposed side and we're losing some detail. So we'll bring the exposure down. Still concentrating on the sky, making sure we've got all that detail on the sky. Maybe bring the highlights down a little bit. Right there looks good. I think there's, because we've darkened the image again now, I've got a little bit too much black going on, so I think we're going to get rid of some of those blacks. And we can also add a little bit of vibrance. We're going to go to the HSL slider, or the HSL tool, and we're going to adjust the blue slider. and bring the blues right down with the luminance, just to make the sky really pop, like that. And let's see what we can do with purple, because we've got a bit of purple going on. Bring the purple right up. Too much. But we should bring it up just a little bit, just to brighten those purples. Okay. You bring the blues down just a little bit more. Sharpening, we can make this really sharp, bring it up to about 70. And then we're going to mask it out. So finger on the Alt key to get your mask open. The white areas are the areas that are affected by the sharpening, and the black areas are not affected. So we don't really need sharpening in the sky. So we can just move the slider until the majority of the sharpening is in the foreground. I think about there is good. Now, even though this was shot at ISO 100, there's still a little bit of noise going on because I brought the shadows right up, and that in itself will always increase the noise. So we're going to add a little bit of noise reduction with the luminance bar. I'm going to bring it up to about 30. And maybe add a little bit of color noise reduction. And we can zoom in and we can see how it's looking. Just let it render. That looks pretty good. Let's switch off the detail. So this is without sharpening and without the noise reduction and the color noise reduction. And we can see certainly here, there's quite a lot of color noise going on. We'll switch it back on. Yeah, it looks a lot better. In fact, I'm going to tweak the sharpening up just a little bit more. That looks good. We're going to zoom right back out again. Now, there is one thing, I feel that the foreground is just a little bit too dark. And I'm not too happy with the white balance in the foreground either. So we're going to add a filter and finger on the shift key to keep it straight, and we're going to drag up. We're going to drag it right up past the horizon, like there. Now the first part of the filter is 100% affected, and the second part gets lesser as the graduation goes on. So what I want to do is I want to adjust the exposure a little bit, just make it a little bit more brighter. And I want to make it a little bit warmer, so we're going to use the temperature of the white balance just to warm it up a bit. Ooh, it's a bit too orangey, not too much. Somewhere about there looks good. Done. Okay, so far I'm pretty happy with this. Maybe add a little bit more contrast. In fact, let's add another filter to the sky. So we'll select the sky, we'll finger on the shift key, drag it right down, and we'll just bring the exposure down just a little here, just a little bit, and also the highlights. Maybe bring the contrast up. Okay. All right, so we've done sharpening. Will we use a vignette? I'm not too sure. Let's see what it's like. No, I don't think we'll use a vignette for this, because I don't want this area darkened anymore. In fact, I think I'm gonna brighten up these houses because I just feel they're just a little bit too dark and dull. So we're going to select the brush, and we're just going to add just a little bit more exposure. We're going to use a nice big brush, and we're just going to sweep across right down to about there. Could maybe also brighten up parts of this beach. Just paint slightly here. I'm not too sure about that. So finger on the Alt key to erase. Maybe brighten up just a little bit of this platform. Just paint across it. A little bit in the beach. Bring it down just a little bit. Okay. I think that's looking good. So that's it, folks. So we can look at the before and after. So backslash key to see the before. So that's where we started. And that's what we ended up with. Okay, so thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little bit. Also, feel free to subscribe. There should be a subscribe button. And I will catch you next time.